Next up, Richard Jimerson, give the registration services report.
Thank you, John. My name is Richard Jimerson. I'm going to give you the registration services report today. I'm going to move a little bit quickly through the slides. I'm last up before the break, and I'm happy to answer any questions during the break that you might have, however. The core functions of the Registration Services Department, of course, are reviewing IPv4 requests, IPv6 requests, and autonomous system number requests. And also, one of our new areas of increased volume is change of authority type services. These are organization recoveries, point of contact recoveries, and including transfers and the STLS service. Of course, we do database records maintenance on a daily basis for customers, and we provide customer support on a daily basis at Ask ARIN via the telephone help desk 60 hours per week, and at hostmaster at arin.net email. We also have some support functions inside the department that you can see on the screen here, the things that you would expect. We're the SME often on some of the content that's going on the website, and when the engineers are putting together services for the customers, they're often interfacing with the registration services department to see how that might best work. Organizations served by ARIN, the organizations that we serve on an annual basis here inside the organization, there are 14.3% are ISP subscriber members. There are 5,319 of those. But we also have non-member customers. There are 15,170 of those. Those are organizations who pay fees to the ARIN organization on an annual basis. They pay per resource, and that don't have a subscription plan with ARIN right now. A lot of those are end-user organizations. And the other 44.8% of the organizations are legacy organizations that may not as frequently interact with ARIN on an annual basis, but I can assure you that the others do, and we have a lot of interaction with them throughout the year. IPv4 registration services agreement coverage is always interesting to the community, so we continue to provide that here. And what you'll see is this is a snapshot as of 6 April of 2016. We've got just over 6,500,000/24s in the database in the IPv4 space. 45.1% is covered under a standard registration services agreement. 9.1% is covered under a legacy registration services agreement. And 45.8% is not covered under an agreement currently, and that's, of course, mostly the legacy resource space that we have in the database. Now, we've provided that snapshot of information several times over the past couple of years, so I've only been able to collect the data where we've collected that snapshot. We did it twice in 2012, twice in 2015, and then again as we were entering April here. And you can see over time with the red line, this is the resource that has not been covered under a registration services agreement, the percentage over those years. And the blue line is standard and legacy registration services agreement combined. So you can see back in towards the end of middle to end of 2012, we actually crossed a line where we went from the majority of the address space not being covered under an agreement to it moving to being covered under an agreement. And today, we've got over 54% of the resources in the database IPv4 covered by a registration services agreement. And that's going to continue to change over time as organizations who are receiving IPv4 address space via the transfer process are often having that sourced from resources that are considered legacy today. When actually received by the new organization, they sign a registration services agreement, so this will continue to change. IPv4 requests over the last year, you can see that the request traffic went down to coincide with the waiting list being initiated, and also IPv4 depletion happening in the September timeframe. We're at about a third sustained request traffic against the free pool that we had at peak last year, and those requests continue to come in, but they're all destined for the waiting list for unmet requests. Here's the waiting list growth. The waiting list started back around the June timeframe when we ran out of the larger prefixes first, and organizations were qualifying for those and opting to go onto the waiting list instead of taking the smaller prefix. And then after depletion in September, you can see that the waiting list growth is shot up significantly. Today, we are just under 350 tickets on the waiting list. Each organization can only have one ticket on the waiting list, and that grows continually. There's very little chance, unless something significant happens with a return to the ARIN organization of IPv4 address space, that organizations entering the waiting list today have a chance of getting anything off of it in the next couple of years, unless they're coming on with a /24 perhaps, and we get some of those back, and they may be satisfied. 8.3 transfers, these are the transfers to specified recipients inside the ARIN region. You can see that that started to go up right around the time of depletion in September of last year. It seems that the community has made a good transition from requesting against the free pool to requesting against transfers. And with each of these transfers, of course, for the inside the region 8.3 specified recipients, we have 2 tickets. One ticket comes from the source organization that's supplying the addresses, and the other ticket comes from the organization receiving the resources. The 8.3 recipient tickets that we review are very much the same as the IPv4 resource requests that we have done over the years, but now instead of looking at a 3-month need assessment, we're doing a 24-month need assessment for those organizations. Enter RIR transfers. These are the 8.4 transfers. Most of the 8.4 transfers have been sourced from inside the ARIN region and gone out to either RIPEN, CC, or APNIC. However, we have received a small amount in, but you can see that this is all over the place. It really depends on the situation if people want to go cross-region, but the majority of our traffic has been in 8.3 transfers. I will note that we received a record number of IPv4 transfer requests in March of this year, and I fully expect that the stats that you see for April for completed transfer requests are going to put us way above where we were even earlier this year, and this continues to rise at a rapid rate. IPv6 request traffic has not shot up the way that you thought it would have around the time of depletion. There was a short little spike as we were making the announcements and going towards depletion right there in September, but they've kind of leveled out. You could say that if you look in March of last year to February of this year, that it's gone up a little bit, but not as much as we expected that it would. But we continue to review those requests, of course. We always get asked, and you've seen this now for the 3rd time, how many of our members actually have IPv6 in addition to IPv4. It's nearing 50%. By this time next year, we expect that it will have gone over 50% of the membership. Request activity changes. This is one of my last slides here. We have seen in the IPv4 request arena that, of course, we're seeing decreased requests against the free pool for waitlist tickets. But we're seeing an increase in pre-approval requests for transfer needs assessments and also for 8.3 recipient tickets. In the V6 request, it's been steady. Change of authority request, of course, that is increasing as we all expected. We're seeing many more 8.2 merger and acquisition requests, many more 8.3 specified recipient requests, and in a very big way, and we don't normally present this statistic, but I think we're going to start doing that, we're seeing more organization recovery requests than we ever have in the history of ARIN. When an organization loses its control of the record by allowing it to sit stale for a long time, when they come back in to interact with it, and most of this is legacy resources, they have to recover the organization. And the work that the staff has to do for an organization recovery looks an awful lot like the work that we do for 8.2 transfers. All of the legal vetting that we do also applies to the organization recoveries because that is a hijacking vector, and we're very careful in doing those, and they're very work intensive, and that traffic has picked up significantly. We expect all of that volume to continue to increase over the next year. Telephone help desk, of course, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday Eastern Time. We get about 700 calls per month. Most common topics, point of contact validation. Monthly, we're sending out point of contact validations. Over the course of a year, we send out to every point of contact a validation message. It is obviously effective if you want to use the amount of contacts that we're receiving in registration services as a measure. People are very interested in it, and they come in and they update their point of contact information. Ticket status, ARIN online use, and transfer-related questions dominate. I do want to thank the registration services team. I want to mention them all by name. We have our transfer services manager, Kathy Clements, resource services manager, Lisa Lydell, technical services manager, Joran Worley. We have 2 senior resource analysts, Eddie Diego and Mike Papano, and you can see both of them in the back of the room at the help desk. We have resource analyst Masood Kwan is also here with us today at the help desk. Doreen Marafa, James Ricewick, Jonathan Roberts, Sean Sullivan, And our newest employee in the ARIN Registration Services Department is our paralegal by the name of Suzanne Rogers. Of course, we're changing the profile a little bit of the staff that we're bringing into the Registration Services Department as we review more and more legal documentation on a daily basis inside the team. We love serving you at the Registration Services Department. We thank you, and we look forward to seeing you again on the telephone next week and in the back of the room if you have any questions for us. Thank you very much.
If you can go back to the slide where you were showing the different RSA, it's a ways back, sorry.
Yeah.
One more. Yeah,
That one?
that one.
Okay.
No, maybe the one before that.
So this is the RSA one.
Yeah, no, it's, go back one more.
So you want the organization served by
Yes.
ARIN? Okay.
The legacy organizations, is that legacy non-LRSA or is that legacy LRSA and non-LRSA?
Those are legacy organizations who, so non-member customers are organizations who pay fees to ARIN on an annual basis per resource. ISP subscriber members, they pay a services plan fee to ARIN every year. And the legacy organizations who are organizations in our database who have resources that pay no fees at all.
Okay,
And
so they're
since,
strictly non-LRSA.
Right.
Okay, and then on the waiting list, would it be possible at some point to get that expressed in not just entries, but also in number of 24s?
Sure.
Thanks.
we could run a total on that.
Okay, Scott?
Comment from, or question from Jabber, from Sandy Murphy Parsons. Great presentation. You're feeding the info junkies of the group. With regard to the graph of covered by agreement and not covered, I do not see the covered category accelerating even with depletion. Looks like it'll take a whole lot of years before there's a significant preponderance of agreement covered IPv4 address space. Is that correct?
I'll take that one. So if you look at it, yeah, it does appear it's going to take some time, but it's definitely happening. And it has not, this is a relatively new development in terms of this pickup we've seen. The question is, will it get down to 0? Well, at some point IPv4 may not become all that interesting, and so that may change it as well. I would say at this rate, we're probably tending towards 30% or 20% coverage at the point in time when no one cares.
And she made one other comment, which is the news about IPv4 and IPv6 holders is encouraging for what ARIN is doing to make that happen. Take credit.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to close the queues because we have a break, but I got one final question back there. Go ahead.
Very quickly, Kevin Bloomberg. In regards to the unmet waiting list, while we have policy, there's also staff procedure. Organizations that sell music tickets, etc., cut off the queue at a certain point and say it's full. Just a suggestion that when you have 300 people and you're estimating years before any of those people could be serviced, saying the queue is full and when it depletes below a certain level, we will look at reopening it, might be better than just permanently tacking on to the end of it.
I fully agree with what you just said, but the act of telling people our waiting list is full is not something I would take without community guidance. I would recommend a little short email from the AC at what level you think I start telling you that.
Like I said, I don't believe this is a policy issue. Now, John, if you're suggesting maybe an ACSP community discussion?
Let's start a
that's fine.
discussion.
Yes.
Propose the level at which we say no in the ACSP, and we'll get a discussion on ARIN Consult.
Perfect.
Thank you, Richard, for your presentation. I mean, in 2030, everyone on the waiting list will get V4 addresses. They can have IPXs and other addresses, SNA addresses even. Okay, we're going to go into the refreshment break, and we're going to cut it short because we want to stay on schedule. So you folks will all be back here promptly at 11 o'clock for the ARIN Advisory Council report. Go. You have 17 minutes. That's a long time.